But I was reminded today of a horse that I knew and loved years ago by one of the horses that we had, the mare that Ken rode, Deuce, owned by Carol. I've forgotten Carol's last name, but she was very like an old mare we had called Pet, even though this Deuce was a quarter horse and Pet was a thoroughbred. She'd been on the track and everything, but she took to cow work like a duck to water when she was exposed to it. And we had an interesting little adventure one day, and I wrote a poem about it, and it's called The Gate. It was a fine spring day. Pet's hooves kicked up the dew, the kind of northern range day that are sadly all too few. I was riding through the pasture to the neighbors, checking fence, Pet watching the young calves with their innate old cow sense. John Bull by the gate I saw, bunched up like a shorthorn, big for an Angus bull. Good calves, though, never needed a pull. I thought I'd go to Harold's, through the gate for coffee. John was Harold's bull. Stepped down to open the gate, and damn, John Bull watched me. Oh, Lord, I said, both curse and prayer. And John stepped towards the gate, cornered me, trapped for sure. Was this now to be my fate? Now, the old-timers say, the courage of a horse is in how he will run and how he will stay the course. Now, I ain't saying it ain't true. I know horses will run, burst lung, heart, and bones, so no other will pass by. Pet, though, on that fine day, she showed another kind of grit. She pinned back her ears, and she snorted hot spume and spit. John Bull lifted his head, put paw in the dirt. Pet bared her great teeth, and damn, she pawed the dirt. She made a strange noise then. Ain't heard its like since. Cat-like, mean, fierce, and low, and that bull did much more than flinch. His tail went straight up. He spun like a cutter, ran, but he was too slow. Pet's teeth cut him like butter. She rode, slashed him 50 yards, him bawling like a baby. She sauntered back, put her head in my arms. I said, damn dog, you're crazy. I've had many a horse since, known many, with many grand traits. But my old Pet, by sweet Jesus, she saved my life by the gate. Thank you. But at any rate, I'll tell you a short little story about Harry here before I tell you a little bit more of a lengthy one. Harry ended up in his retirement years down in the Assiniboia country there, and he had this place, and he never really broke his cowboy habits. He liked to spend his money on wine and women. The rest of it he'd just waste. And he was in town one night in the Assiniboia. He was playing cards, and there was a professional gambler who was moving through town who was sitting at the table with him. And this, of course, like I say, was when Harry was getting on in years. And the Old West was definitely gone, except in his head and in the heads and the hearts of a few other folks. And Harry knew clearly this guy was cheating, and he called him on it, and figured that the guy would be a man about it and defend himself. And the guy just sort of poo-pooed him and let it go. And Harry seemed to evidently get it go too. And the next day, of course, this fellow was gone, and life just went on in Assiniboia at its usual pace. Years later, after Harry had passed over, his piece of property sold. And some folks moved out there, and they bought this place and thought they'd do a little bit of sprucing up. And so they took the old back house and had moved it, and I don't know if they're going to put a Japanese rock garden in there or what, but at any rate, they cleaned it all out, and lo and behold, they found a human skeleton in there. And so it seems that Harry actually did call that gambler and got his revenge on him every day in the most dramatic way one can imagine. So that was when Harry was an old fella. But when Harry was a young fella, very young, he was an itinerant bronc buster, and he would, all his brothers were bronc busters, and as I said, they were all giants, and the old timers used to say, the hurries don't really break broncs, they just sort of discourage them. And Harry, one February or thereabouts, had gone down to the Gulf of Mexico as spring was starting down there, and as spring moved north, Harry moved north too, breaking the strings as he went along. And he had gotten back up to the Mowat Ranch in the Dirt Hills not very far from Regina, and had bucked out that string. And he was, by the way, Harry, I should tell you, when he told us stories, when he came to our house, he was the only person who ever came in our house that my mother would let swear, because she didn't want, it was the only way you could talk, and she didn't want us to miss out on all this history. So I won't attach as many expletives to it as Harry did to the story, but he had bucked out this string at the Mowat Brothers and was moving up to Regina, I'm sure to spend his money on wine and women, and the rest to spend foolishly in the best cowboy tradition. And he got stopped by a herd of buffalo. And he got off his horse and realized he was going to have to camp. And he camped for 3 days. And the herd just kept moving. And when Harry was finally able to move on, there were still hundreds of buffalo stragglers that he rode through and still coming along. And it wasn't just the buffalo. There were hundreds of wolves with that herd, coyotes, foxes, swift foxes. The whole order, down to the smallest little critter you can imagine. And in the air above, thousands of ravens and crows, eagles, like the golden eagle I was blessed to see today, and bald eagles and red tails and Swainson's hawks. The whole thing, the whole vast canvas of prairie life was there. And Harry got to see that, and got to ride through it, got to be a part of it. And he never ever told me in so many words, never told me and my cousin and my brother in so many words, but I know that was the last herd. It's just the break in his voice when he spoke. I can tell it was the last herd. But at least he got the privilege of seeing it. Thank you.